Breaking Bad is one of the most influential and brilliant shows to ever air on television. But that influence can also reach the wrong people. Here are 10 cases of people who followed Walter White on his tragic journey, but learned nothing good from it. An ex-member of the Massachusetts House of Representatives, Stephen W. Doran, found himself in the unlikely position as a math tutor at Boston Public School. When August of 2012 rolled around, Doran was diagnosed with stage 3 melanoma, an almost identical situation to that of fictional chemistry teacher Walter White. Left with a death sentence, Doran decided to break bad, and over the course of a year, he became a kingpin in his own regard. When arrested in 2013, he was found with $50,000 worth of methamphetamine and $10,000 in cash, an amount even the great Heisenberg didn't surpass until 2 seasons into the show. Since Doran pleaded guilty to the charges, he was given a lenient sentence of 3 years in prison and 2 of probation. A 37-year-old graphic designer named Kuntal Patel tried poisoning her mother's diet soda using a method she saw in an episode of Breaking Bad. The plot in question is when Walter White laces an enemy's tea with Richin, leaving them for dead with no way to trace the poison back to him. Patel, from East London, fantasized about murdering her mother, who was allegedly separating Patel from her fiancé while beating and harassing her. Left broken and loveless, she began scouring the dark web looking for Richin-like poison until she found one that was apparently much more poisonous than Richin. Her mother survived the attempt on her life, and Patel was the first person sentenced under the UK's Biological Weapons Act, 1974. It wasn't all sad, as Patel forgave her mother during her time in prison and even shared teary-eyed calls with her. Jason Hart was 28 when he strangled his girlfriend Regan Jolly to death and tried to destroy her body using a plastic bath of hydrofluoric acid. When cops in Spokane, Washington investigated his house after the murder, they found the episode where Jesse Pinkman and Walter White commit the same crime still stuck in his DVD player. Hart's roommate told police that Hart was a meth addict and had a deep fascination with the show. Authorities believed he was using the episode as a guide, but due to Breaking Bad exaggerating the power of hydrofluoric acid, the body was found burned but recognizable. In 2013, 5 men were arrested in Thailand after attempting to sell undercover Drug Enforcement Administration agents meth. It became a global debacle when an investigation revealed that the drugs were being manufactured in a lab found in North Korea. After the massive success of Breaking Bad, the DEA believes that the market was created for highly pure meth, just like Heisenberg's Blue Sky formula. This global drug ring-fed into that market, with 99% pure meth found in many Southeast Asian countries like Singapore and the Philippines. The defendants claimed that their labs were the only ones not burned down by the North Korean government. It can be assumed that to make meth this pure, they had need a lab the size of Gus Springs with the capital to grease some very important palms in the process. All in all, this just shows that we need a Breaking Bad spin-off set in North Korea, where the stakes are higher than ever. While the show was still airing and at its peak, reports of blue meth started coming from Albuquerque, New Mexico, the city backdrop of Breaking Bad. Along with other horrible side effects of meth, such as addiction and teeth, hair loss, this particular strain of meth made people very ill. Homeland Security agents said that the drug actually started off at very high purity, but it lost most of that original integrity once it was cut and dyed blue. At the time, DHS agents reported an increase in the sale of the colored drug. Authorities also confiscated meth that was painted red, probably made for the picky types who only eat red Skittles. Blue meth is popular in other areas of the US, but fans of the show must realize that every character who uses Walt's drugs in the show is left off worse afterward, and the people who make money off of it are some mighty evil characters. A resident of Florida, Ryan Lee Carroll, won a contest to watch the series final of Breaking Bad with the cast. A few years later, he was arrested on New Year's Eve for a massive drug operation. Carroll was a big fan of the show, even having a souvenir hazmat suit signed by the main cast. However, police arrested him for selling synthetic marijuana and shipping drugs throughout the US Postal Service. The raid on his home revealed nearly 80,000 small packages of drugs, money orders, cash, and guns. He ultimately took a plea deal, serving 2 years in prison. Many people have tried tackling the question, does art imitate life or does life imitate art? This next case seems to prove the latter's point. Walter Jack White, a 53-year-old man, was arrested for distributing 32 pounds of meth. The police in Montana investigated his house after his son, Brandon, shot at his father over an argument about drug debts, which was also a repeated point of conflict between Jess and Walt. Like Walter Hartwell White, Walter Jack White claims he couldn't stop selling the drug after receiving threats from his supplier and boss Thomas Alvarado, who also was arrested in a sting and received 30 years in prison. White is now serving 12 years in prison, so it seems he didn't end up winning like Heisenberg. In the Lotus Green Correctional Centre in Queensland, Australia, inmates destroyed more than 400 televisions. The prisoners were scrapping and cutting the electrical cables on the TVs in order to light their cigarettes. Walter uses the same method to escape a zip tie in Season 5, breaking a cord to burn the plastic, setting him free. The first prisoner to attempt this probably watched the episode on the same TV he transformed into the world's most inconvenient lighter. Inmates used to be able to rent a TV for just $2 a week, but the prison reconsidered this rule after the mass vandalism. A respectable Welsh family was thrown in jail after police found an intricate marijuana factory in the bathrooms of their home. The head of the operation was Susan McKay, a chemistry teacher who teamed up with her son to sell cannabis. Unfortunately, her husband turned a blind eye to the entire operation as McKay tried her best to financially support their posh lifestyle after suffering many tragedies. All it took to bring this operation down was a traffic cop stopping McKay's son for driving without lights. The smell of marijuana led to the finding of more than 100 grams of the drug in the car. A subsequent search at their home uncovered 3 entire bedrooms full of marijuana. The 3 family members were all arrested, echoing Skylar's fears in Breaking Bad, where she dreaded this very possibility. In the most recent of all these cases, 2 chemistry professors at Henderson State University in Arkansas were caught making methamphetamine in the school science center lab. The duo was highly regarded at the university and even honored for their service until a suspicious smell started coming from the lab. The smell left students nauseated and with burning eyes. After a few tests, the police came to the conclusion that meth was the cause. It seems that these 2 really didn't learn anything from watching Breaking Bad, as Walt always had access to his school's lab but chose to cook in an RV for this exact reason. If Heisenberg was this dumb, the show wouldn't have been a miniseries. I hope you liked it and see you in the next video.